What does the guy say when you talk about concrete corrosion? This begins with either moisture, salt, or carbonation that penetrates the concrete and attacks the internal steel rebar. That's like the structure, what keeps the skeleton of the concrete to make sure it can't really get pulled apart and just keeps the overall structure. And once it affects the rebar, it causes it to rust and expand up to 10 times its original size. So it'll be in the rebar and it'll expand 10 times its original size, causing like cracking in the concrete. But let's get into it more about the science. So think of the invading molecules as chlorine from salt spray, sea salt spray, or carbon dioxide from pollutants, air pollution, right? These act like tiny drills that tunnel through the, this oxide skin and through the concrete pores to reach the steel rebar and destroy its protective shield. So once that shield is gone, the iron atoms in the steel combine with oxygen and water to form rust, which is a much fluffier molecule. Rust is a really bigger molecule than an original metal. So this expands to occupy up to 10 times the space of the original metal, and the massive growth causes a powerful internal pressure called oxide jacking. Oxide jacking is kind of like a car jack when it's pushing from the inside out until the concrete can no longer hold together. So this pressure eventually causes spalling. Spalling is when the outer layers of the concrete crack and break into little pieces, little chunks. So what are some common like misconceptions? The protective shield. The shield isn't something that's painted on. This is just a natural chemical reaction. Concrete is a really highly alkaline material. It's having as a pH of 12 or 13, really basic. So when a steel is surrounded by this alkaline environment, it causes a microscopic invisible layer called iron oxide on its surface, creating a passive film. So this film is only a few nanometers thick, but it acts like a force field that stops oxygen and water reacting with the steel. So corrosion only starts with invaders like chloride from sea salt and carbon dioxide from air to break the shield. Okay. Second thing is the rust being fluffy or big, right? So think of a regular iron atom just as Fe, right? Think of Fe. Um, think of like a compact marble. When it corrodes, it combines with oxygen and water to form a hydrated iron oxide, which is Fe2O3 and H2O, right? Which we call rust. So Fe, two of them now, O3, H2O. Like think of a marble with like long arms. That's like that's how much bigger it gets. So a single rust molecule is much larger and more spread out than the iron atom it came from. So because the rust molecules have more arms of like oxygen and water attached to it, it can take up to 6 to 10 times more space than the original steel. So this is why people call it like fluffy, because it's light and bulky compared to the dense, heavy steel. Last but not least, the replacement. Where does it happen? So the chemical transformation happens right on the surface, the steel concrete interface. This is the exact surface where the metal meets the concrete. Like the steel bar, the rebar metal meets the concrete. So the surface attack is that iron atoms are literally pulled off the surface of the rebar and turn into the rust. Right? The iron atoms get pulled off, yeah, turn into rust. And as this rust like fluffs up, like as it grows bigger and expands outwards, the solid steel bar inside actually gets thinner and thinner and thinner because its outer layers are getting eaten away. Right? As that metal rod starts corroding, it gets thinner, and yeah, the rust will start expanding outwards. And because the smooth, strong surface of the rebar is replaced by the crumbly, bulky rust of the concrete no longer has that grip of the steel, and the two materials stop working together as a team. So all in all, one more time, concrete corrosion is a destructive cycle that begins with moisture, salt, or carbonation that penetrates the concrete and attacks the internal steel rebar, causing it to rust and expand up to 10 times its original size. So thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.